Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
The FunBelt Podcast gang back together again. It's a party. I mean, we have Shane Mettlen from the Daily News Record sipping on a little PBR. I'm jealous of that. I'm still a little jet lagged coming back from the land of the Big Ten country, Chicago. So I have no drinks. I'm Dusty Thibodeaux, Warhawk Report. And in the corner where he should be, because his teams are just not cutting the mustard when it comes to Sunbelt Conference action, Jeremy Harper of HowlRaiser.com, fan of the 0-6 Lady Red Wolves.
I should just, you know what? Here's the thing, though. I'm just blessed to be in the company of such brilliant citizens of the Sunbelt right here. You know what? I don't have to be a fan of a Sunbelt team that's successful. I just have to be a fan of you guys. That's enough for me.
And I feel like Jeremy's got to be focused on getting that women's tennis team turned around.
Yeah.
This point, right?
And I'm far more focused on my quest to be coach of the women's tennis team than I am on the woes, trials, and tribulations of the basketball team. That is absolutely for sure. Oh, and by the way, Thibz, Chicago isn't Big Ten country. It is MAC country, baby. MAC action, yes.
When I was in the hotel room, I did not see the Maction channel. I did see the Big Ten, which ironically was not working. So if you flipped over to the Big Ten network, all you saw was a black screen for hours on end.
Dude, because their commissioner already had 1 foot out the door. He wasn't on top of this stuff.
Jeremy, are you leaving your post as athletic director and head tennis program director of Arkansas State for the Big Ten?
You know what? I won't say that. I can't say never, because that's a decision between me and God and my family, and I'll pray on it. But
respect my decision.
If God wants me to join the Big Ten, then I will heed that call. I'm just a small cog in the master plan, so I'll just leave it up to the big man, and we'll see. Until then, I'm focused on Arkansas State's success as a tennis school. And we're focused on the season.
Arkansas State, the bowling and tennis school of the South.
Bowling and club rugby. That's where we are right now. But man, look, have you looked at these Sunbelt standings for men's basketball? Have you even taken the time to look at these Thibz? It is crazy what I'm looking at right here. 9 teams, 9 within one game.
And more important than that, the ULM Warhawks complete the season sweep of the good old Boobcats as they downed head coach TJ and his Texas State team this past weekend to move to 4-2 in conference play.
Oh my God. It's like, I think the Warhawks are for real. Shane, I think we're just going to have to accept that we live in a world where the Warhawks are going to compete in 2023 Sunbelt basketball. Shane, are you willing to accept this?
I think I'm getting there, and I gotta ask Thibz what has changed? What happened while we weren't paying attention to make this happen? Like, did they add a bunch of new players at the end of the semester, or what's going on? Like, how did they go from being one of the worst teams in the country to battling for a conference championship right now?
I'm shocked and offended and hurt by your statements and your insinuation that there's other players in those Warhawk uniforms. Have you never seen Space Jam? We have the juice, baby. We have the juice.
Holy hell.
NCAA, please don't come test us.
So you're not willing to, we talked a little about this last week, and you kind of hem and hawed, and that's fine. But you're not willing to give us the secret sauce to what's propelling the Warhawks to the top of the Sunbelt standings.
I think they're just playing well right now. I mean, you're going to go through streaks throughout the season where the shots just don't fall and kind of woes me. Right now, they just have that it. They have the shots that they're throwing up are going in. They're getting the rebounds. They're playing well together. Coach Richard is lowering his blood pressure. He has not dropped nearly as many F-bombs as he has in seasons past. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's a correlation or not, but I do feel that the Warhawks have really just kind of, they found themselves, and they have, like I said, that it factor of they're just able to have that lucky string of shots going in, getting the rebounds and getting the dubs.
Well, you know who I thought looked legit, and maybe it's because they were playing on ESPN2 and getting that sort of prime time real estate. Marshall upending Southern Miss. Was it Saturday or Thursday? I can't remember which. But Marshall looked good. Maybe Marshall's pretty good. Shane, am I right to believe that Marshall's pretty good?
I think so. I think there's a handful of, maybe more, like when we're talking about 9 teams being in the mix right now. But I think there's a handful of pretty good teams. JMU had a bad stretch. I think they're still going to be up there. I think Southern Miss is going to be in the mix. Troy looks good. I mean, we just said ULM's for real. Like, there's a good number of teams I think that are up there, and Marshall's definitely one of them.
Congratulations to James Madison, by the way, Shane. Getting off that, they had the 3-game losing streak, and then they came back, and now they're back on track. Are they going to stay on track, Shane? Or do you foresee maybe a little bit of staggering?
We'll see. I mean, if they come out of this road trip coming up with heading to Troy and then Southern Miss, if they survive that, I think, they're in pretty good shape despite losing a couple I didn't expect them to lose. But it's going to be tough. I mean, it might be 6 losses that finishes first on top of this conference when you just look at where everybody is right now.
Yeah, it could be. But I tell you one team that's not going to compete, and that's Arkansas State. So you guys don't have to worry about the Red Wolves coming in and upending your quest to be number 1 in the Sun Belt. The Red Wolves are just sitting this one out. You guys have all the fun. I love listening to the conversations amongst you guys about how tight it is in the Sun Belt, while my Red Wolves are 1-5, doing absolutely nothing to make themselves relevant in this race. You guys enjoy it. I'm glad you guys are having your moment. One day, maybe we will. Just won't be this year.
Another team having their moment. Winners of 4 straight. How about them Raging Cajuns?
Yes. What the hell? They started off so badly. Now they're back. They beat your Warhawks. Am I right?
They did. They got the big win there in Fayetteville and Coliseum. I think it was 13-point win on a Thursday. Warhawks in that game did not have the it factor and just did not look very good. And the Cajuns just scorched the nets.
Yeah, I feel like the Cajuns are just starting to pour it on. And I don't know if the Cajuns are of all these teams, I honestly don't know who's the best team, the team to look out for. It could be Marshall. Maybe it's JMU. Maybe it's the Warhawks. God, Georgia Southern is there at 4-2. We keep calling them like maybe they don't belong there, but they're 4-2. So, Troy with Scott Cross, can't count him out. This Sun Belt tournament in Pasadena may be the most exciting Sun Belt tournament we've seen.
Did they move the tournament?
You're going to miss some games if you go to Pasadena for that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Where are we this year?
Pensacola.
The
Pasadena of the East, I believe.
But Jeremy, your Red Wolves will probably be in Pasadena.
You know what? We might just drive through Pensacola on the way to Pasadena.
I don't think that's how that works.
I mean, it'd be a big loop. Yeah, but why not? Because we're going nowhere. We might as well just take the long route to Pasadena.
No surprise for guys that are going somewhere, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Tavion Kinsley leading the league, 21 points a game in Sun Belt Conference action. Austin Crowley at 20, and Jordan Brown, your preseason player of the year, at 18. No surprise there. Is there anybody that has kind of jumped out to y'all as maybe a little bit of a surprise?
I'm gonna acquiesce to Shane on that because Shane knows everything. Shane, you answer that question for me, would you?
I don't know if anybody's like jumped out at me that's like that we haven't already talked about. Unless, okay, I will say DeAndre Pinckney at Southern Miss. I mean, he's been a solid player there, but you kind of expected their 3 transfers to be big time for them. And Alvarez has been hurt, so somebody had to step up. And Pinckney's really been the guy. They're probably not where they are right now without him having his best season.
The guy that I like that has really jumped out here in the early goings of the Sun Belt Conference action, right there from your Red Wolves.
Oh,
Omar El Sheikh.
yeah.
Second in the league with just about 12 rebounds a game. I feel like this is his chance to really kind of come out and shine where he doesn't have the Miami kid, Omir, to overshadow him. I feel like he's really kind of come in and stood out. Plus, he's another Egyptian. That's 2 standout Egyptians that we have in the league there, with Mustafa of Coastal Carolina also just short of 10 rebounds a game.
Sunbelt might be the Egypt pipeline. We have tapped into that raw talent of Egypt, and we're getting people into the Sunbelt. Yeah, Omar plays really well. He's kind of a raw talent. There's a lot of guys on the Red Wolves that are just kind of raw. Guys that have abilities, but like really require some fine tuning. And we'll probably fine tune those guys right up to the point where they'll get that fine tuning and then transfer out. So,
well, he's a one and done, so he's not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, he's not going anywhere. That's probably true. Yeah, I don't have to really worry about that. I tell you one guy that's standing out to me, and I'm going to totally destroy his name, but Michael Handgloden. Does that Micah Handlogaden? Micah Handlogaden of Marshall, big man. 11 rebounds a game, 2.7 blocks per game. I love the big men in the Sun Belt. Shane, help me pronounce that name.
I'm not great at pronouncing names. I'm not even going to try. But we all know who you're talking about, and you're correct. He's doing great.
Yeah, the Sun Belt to me has never been like a big man league. Like we've had a few big men, but never like dominating big guys. So I always like to see guys like him and Mustafa doing good work underneath the basket, gobbling up those rebounds. I like to see rebounds more than I like to see points. So rebound guys I love.
At 7'1" as a freshman, I would hope that he's going to come into this league and dominate, but you never know if that's always a true statement.
You know what? Is it possible that the Warhawks have been drinking water from beautiful Eagle Creek?
I don't think they've been to Statesboro yet this year.
I'm not talking about, officially. We know there are magic properties in that creek.
Well, there's also weird things that come out of the Washita River, too.
That's true. Are you guys drinking bayou water? I don't know. What is it? Radioactive spider? Maybe a meteorite that has come out of the sky and giving you some sort of strange powers. But the Warhawks are too good to be the Warhawks. We all can agree with that, right, Shane?
I'm trying, yeah. There's something in the gumbo out there, I think. I don't know what's going on.
So do we have anything else to talk about the men, other than the fact that it's crowded at the top and it's lonely at the bottom?
South Alabama 2-4. I know that we said we were not going to follow the Jags this year, but I still didn't see them being at the bottom.
Thibz, just cut it off right there. We're not covering the Jaguars this year. We did it last year and we got burned. We're not doing it again. I will not be hurt again.
Losers one straight.
That should be better than what they are. It's a little confusing. I never know about the Jags. What's the deal with those guys? But
so, are you more surprised by that, or that Georgia State is right there beside them at 2-4?
You know what? I think Georgia State, had that kind of longish run of Sun Belt excellence, and they kind of needed that down here. So I think I'm not as surprised at Georgia State that I am as South Alabama. I keep thinking South Alabama is going to finally burst on the scene and have this great season. It's just not happening.
I'm with you. It's a rebuilding year for Georgia State, new coach, a lot of new players. I thought South Alabama was going to have their guys that they didn't have last year ready to go this year and would be better than they are right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Warhawks have stolen the chi from South Alabama.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
All right. You know something, Thibz. You're concealing something for them. You're hiding something for them. And I'm telling you, they're going to throw you under the bus.
That's not how any of this works.
Okay.
Spring football coming up, guys. How do we feel about the league getting ready to start hearing the popping of pads again here coming up in the next few weeks?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's happening.
Do teams have dates set outside of Harrisonburg? I don't think we have a date set around here.
I don't know either. I mean, I know kind of working backwards that the spring game is typically Super Warhawk weekend, which would be a baseball series in early April-ish. And you get 5 weeks of practice leading up to that.
Yeah, I know Arkansas State hasn't put any dates to that, I don't think. But you do bring up something interesting, baseball season. We finally, at Arkansas State, got a full schedule published. Has ULM published a schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I have not looked at it.
Okay. Arkansas State opens the year with 15 out of 16 home games. Like the first 16 games, 15 are at home. That's kind of crazy. 15 games, like out of 16. The only game that's being played outside of Jonesboro is a game with Ole Miss.
Yeah, you've got the weather for it. Up here, the newcomers to the league outside of Southern Miss, they're all the ones that hit the road in February for baseball, softball.
Jonesboro, though, people always say, oh, you must have great weather. February is the muddiest month, and we don't have artificial turf out there. We've got a muddy ass outfield that if it rains enough, you're ankle deep in mud. So I'll be surprised if we go through all those games and not have at least one cancellation due to the weather.
Looking at the ULM schedule real quick.
Okay.
Everything lines up well until mid-May when you see Southern Miss come to Warhawk Field, and then Texas State closes out the year hosting the Warhawks.
No. Texas State should be pretty good this year. You know, we haven't seen the preseason rankings. I think that comes out first week of February. So I'm looking forward to that. But I suspect it won't be a good year for Arkansas State. Well, we should have our big baseball, preview pretty soon, though, right, guys? Maybe we do that the first week of February.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
Right about time.
Thibz, what else we got?
We got a guest coming up, and we'll let Shane do the introduction of that since it is someone from the Valley coming on the show.
Wait, Shane came through with a guest?
I did.
Wow. Oh my God.
Pulled him all the way from Scotland. So we got a guest that I've been getting to know here over the past few months since he's moved to Harrisonburg, but some other people in Sunbelt country have known him for a long time. JMU assistant basketball coach Neil Harrow, who spent a good deal of time in Troy. We've got him to talk some women's basketball this week. So Neil, I guess tell us a little bit about just what your experience here in the first few months being with the Dukes has been like. Obviously, you guys are winning a lot of games right now and doing quite well.
It's been fun. It's been It's been really good, refreshing in a way, just because it's new, a new style, a new environment, a new culture, a new area, like all new, which I think is good for growth. It's good to keep you on your toes, and just learning a new way to do things. So it's really been fun. It's been everything I hoped it would be. You know, being at Troy for 7 years was great, and so many good memories. But you know, when I was I wasn't in a rush to leave just for anything. Um, so when the opportunity came for this job, you know, I had a high expectations, and they've all been met. So really, it's been fun.
So the big question I have for you there, James Madison in a new league, dominating already as they sit atop the women's standings and atop just about every statistical category there is. How much of that do you kind of beat your chest saying, I'm here and I'm the one that made it happen?
I think that would be foolish and arrogant. So no, I would say no. I mean, everybody plays their piece, right? But I think without me, this team would have been really, really good. So I can't take the credit. I think Coach O has a really, really solid culture. This guy knows what he's doing. He really, really does. He's really good in every aspect. You know, I can't think of a way that it's like, oh, we really need to help him here. I'm sure we do help, but he's good. He's really good. So I think this team was going to be just fine without me. I'm just glad to be along for the ride and help any way I can.
That said, you know, Sean, he's had multiple assistants go on to become head coaches. So, you know, you're right about him, like having the staff, typically leaning on staff, but he's talked about maybe leaning on you guys even more this year as you go into a new league. You obviously know a lot of the existing Sunbelt teams. Mm-hmm. Lexi Barrier, another new assistant, was at Marshall last year. She knows those Conference USA teams that came in. Do you get a sense that he's coming to you in a different way maybe than he has in the past, like just because of your prior experiences? Maybe.
Hard to say, you know, because I don't know how he worked with his previous assistants. But I mean, there has been a lot of conversation, and I think he's leaning on me, you know, the appropriate amount, because I'm sure one of the reasons I was hired here is because of the experience in the Sunbelt. So yeah, I think whether it's more or less, I don't know, but certainly we have a really good line of communication where I think as we continue through conference and we think about it, like of the games that we've played so far, we've already played 1, 2, 3 of the new teams. So 4, 3, oh my, I don't know, at least 3, if not 4 of the, you know, you finish one game, you go right to the next. But so most of the teams so far have not been last year's Sunbelt teams, because we played, you know, Southern Miss, Marshall, ODU. So like, I'm sure as the conference goes on, he may lean on me even more, because Lexi was great so far because she has had the familiarity with the other teams. So I guess just leaning on us all a little bit.
Season's a grind, man.
It is.
How do you kind of make that balance between coach, personal life, scouting, and almost psychiatrist on the bus there during the season as you split those multiple roles?
Gosh, good question. I don't know. And I listen to a lot of other coaches. I'm a big Gino fan. So Gino at UConn. And I try and listen to like older guys and for perspective, because I don't have, you know, a huge work-life balance. I'm pretty much all in on this. And so I try and find ways, but, you know, I try and work out. I try and, you know, disconnect every now and again with music or whatever. But for me, I think the off season is, even though there's not free time per se, there's some. And I think for me, that's the time for balance. But when it's season time, it's like, you know, my mother asked me recently, she said, well, I'm back in Scotland. She said, you know, when's the next time? It was at Christmas time. She said, well, when's the next time you'll have 2 days off in a row? And I said, April. She said, no, but really? And I said, April. You know, so like it's go time, and that's okay with me. I'm kind of built for that, and I've embraced that. But I balance is tough for me in terms of work-life balance, but in terms of different roles, I think you just have to be kind of a chameleon during the year and just be available. Whatever the team needs from you that day, you have to be able to produce it, because you have to be ready. It could be, one day maybe you are a counselor, maybe the next day you are a sounding board for something, maybe the next day you have to motivate, the next day you have to X's and O's it. So you have to be ready and available for whatever they need.
I heard you say you listen to music, but in that rotation is also FunBelt Podcast, correct?
Of course, absolutely. Before music, I make sure I've listened to my FunBelt Podcast. Of course.
So Neil, you get Georgia Southern coming up, which is great. That's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next game is Troy. Is there a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of extra juice for you for that, or is it just welcoming old friends to a new haunt?
It's funny. I don't know the answer, because I go back and forth. And I'm still real close to those guys, and I talk to the staff on a regular basis. So it's not, it wasn't a bad departure. We still talk and we're still friends. But of course I want to win, of course. And I try to remind myself that it's just, it's not any bigger or smaller than any other game, because in conference, a loss is a loss and a win is a win. And when you're chasing, especially in a one-bid league, what you're chasing is like, how can we be the best and how can we avoid losses? And so is it naturally a little bit bigger because it's my old team? Sure. I would be lying if I said no, but it's Georgia Southern right now is the priority because they're next. But yeah, it's on my mind, especially since I have the scout and I'm working on that. So yeah.
So Neil, I'm in quite a bit of dismay over the women's basketball program at Arkansas State, of which I am assistant. They have yet to win a Sun Belt game, and I went ahead. I wanted to compare Arkansas State's roster with a successful Sun Belt team, and I ended up comparing it with James Madison, which was natural because James Madison was leading. And I couldn't help but to notice the size difference that James Madison has. Just so many big, strong, tall players. Is that the key to winning Sun Belt games, is simply to have the size, or is there more to it than that?
No, I don't think it's the key. I think the key is finding a way to be really good, really consistently, just any conference. The Sun Belt is a scrappy, athletic, physical conference. I don't say this in a disrespectful way, because I love the Sun Belt. I don't think it's a super skilled conference, but I think it's really tough. I think the players in there compete arguably harder than any other conference that I can think of. They compete so hard, and that's why it's hard to win in the Sun Belt. So I think our success may be tied to our size, but Troy's had a lot of success in the past without size. Troy, other than this year with Janine Camp at 6'5", 6'6", they have made a living off of 6'1", 6 feet, 5'11" post players who can just get the job done. So I don't attribute size to general success in the Sun Belt, although it may contribute to ours because that is part of our recruiting philosophy. If that makes sense, right?
Absolutely. And I have one final question for you before I throw it back to the guys. Losing to Maine, how bitter do you feel about that?
Actually not. And trust me, I hate to lose. And there may have been a toe in a trash can after that game. May or not have been. But honestly, I don't, somebody asked me recently, do you wish you could have that back? And I said no, because maybe without that, we are not where we are. Nothing could mimic the feeling we had after that game. We couldn't have won that game by 2 and still had that feeling. So No, I think your journey is your journey. I almost hate the Carolina loss more than the Maine loss, which sounds crazy because I feel like we were ready to win that game against UNC. We weren't ready to beat Maine in a lot of different ways. Now, play them today, I think, yeah. But tell you what, Maine's not bad. Maine is good. They have a great coach who runs a very unique, couldn't be further away from Troy, but similar because they run such a unique system. And I think that is what makes Maine so good, is because they're so all in their system. It's really hard to guard. And we weren't ready that day to beat them. So I'm not okay with that. I'm never okay with losing, but I am okay to accept that as part of our journey.
Yeah, and no disrespect for Maine. Don't get me wrong on that. It's just
Yeah.
that you see that long list of impressive wins and that first game off the bat must have been hard to open the season. But I love your answers. Like, it kind of shaped the team a little bit. The team needed that.
Yeah, I don't think we beat VCU without that Maine loss because the ability, like that was a dogfight on the road. It was a 2-point win, I think 2. So like for us to be able to go on the road and understand that, like, max focus in the last 2 minutes of a game is the only acceptable approach here, and we made 3, 4, 5 consecutive mistakes against Maine. And I tell you, man, like, a win would have masked probably 4 of those 5 mistakes. So I'm if you'd asked me after the game, I would have a different answer, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I am now.
6-0 right now in conference play. How do you see that second half kind of coming into focus as y'all get ready for Pensacola, seemingly only a month away?
Wow. Here comes some coach cliche answers, but it's, if you look at Pensacola, you just can't. You just can't. Like, you just similar to, we're not talking about Troy in the office right now. We're talking about Georgia Southern, and we can't talk about Georgia State a couple of days ago gave us problems, but you know what? That has to sit in the drawer until it's time to talk about them again. And it's such a league that, this team, I almost mentioned the team there, that would have been rude, but there's teams in the league that I thought were going to be a 14-4 team and have already lost 3 games. So, like, if you take your finger off the pulse for a second and you get focused on, oh, we're going to the NCAA tournament, oh, we're going to win the tournament, or we're going to go 18-0. No, win on Thursday. And Coach O does a really, really good job of that's his approach. And I think it just ensures that you never get lost in this sort of fantasy of what could be, because this stuff can change so fast. So I'm not really thinking about second half as much as just we have to find a way to improve, because I think other teams are improving, and just win Thursday.
So when you came to JMU, did you have much knowledge or appreciation of the history of the women's basketball program? Were you surprised maybe by how much, like, people cared about them getting back on track this season?
Yeah, I really did. I was surprised. Of course I did research, but didn't know some of the really, really impressive stats, especially for a mid-major program. Like, to produce several draft picks is really rare at this level. To be a program that is like top 3 or 4 in total wins all time is like, wow, didn't know that. Knew they were traditionally really good. But some of the stats and some of the history here has been a pleasant kind of surprise. And I think, I'm friends with one of the Georgia State assistants, and he was asking me about, the arena and this and that. I said, look, like, there is such a great level of support that's around on campus and in the community, because obviously it is really important to them, and they put the resources into making it possible. That arena is unmatched in the Sun Belt Conference, and it's I don't think it's close. So those things, it's nice that it's the two-way street. It's like, yeah, there's a great history and there's great tradition and interest, but there's also, like, the university is putting the resources in place to where we can try to continue that.
Well, Neil, we thank you so very much for joining us on FunBelt Podcast. Looking forward to catching up with you later on as that dreaded South Florida team or city, I should say, sneaks up upon us that we won't mention for your sake.
Can't wait to talk another time, anytime. Thanks for having me.
So Shane's first interview that he brought onto the show, I think it was a great hit.
Absolutely.
But we did not hold him over for plugs, promos, and parting shots. So we'll have to do it solo this time. Shane, since you're the man of the hour, please lead us off.
Well, I'll talk about another Harrisonburg luminary parting shot. Not a happy one, but for the JMU fans listening here, I heard this morning that legendary JMU basketball coach Lou Campanelli is in hospice care. Maybe a matter of time before we say goodbye to a man who took JMU to 3 state NCAA tournaments, almost beat the eventual national champion North Carolina Tar Heels in 1982. Ooh. JMU would not be what it is today if that man had not put the school on the map nationally. So I think probably just need to mention him before we go.
We hinted at it on Twitter that, guys, we are looking for our first student athlete for our own FunBelt NIL deal. I don't know what exactly we're looking for in this person other than they'll be on the show for a segment, but that'll be coming out soon. So be sure to follow us on FunBelt PC on Twitter for the details as we start promoting that up as we look for our first NIL student athlete.
Nice.
Jeremy?
Well, I think I'm just going to have a parting shot. I'm going to try to get through this without coughing up a lung. But today is Martin Luther King Day, the day when we celebrate the life and times of one of our greatest Americans. He's very quotable. If your school hasn't put out a quote about Martin Luther King today and put it on Twitter and wished everybody a great MLK Day, then your school has done a disservice to you. But even though he's put out together a lot of quotes, there is one that stands out to me. And he says, and this is attributed to him, he says, not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great because greatness is determined by service. And I think what he means there is that you don't have to necessarily lead a movement or be a superhero or have a statue erected in your honor to be great, or to be of service. You can be of service just by not being an asshole. So I ask all of you to join me in living up to the dream of Martin Luther King and just be nice to each other, respect each other's opinions. If you see some injustice, do something about it. If you see some litter on the side, or a cigarette butt, pick it up. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Do it yourself. Be of service, and you will be great. And that's my parting shot.
Jeremy, I'll loan you some players so that you can be great.
I would love to be great. That would be nice.
Until next time, where we will have some special guests in our next episode, guys.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, get well soon.
I will. I'll try.
Shane, keep doing your thing, and we'll do it again next week.